In this video, I'm gonna give you my honest, unsponsored thoughts on the Doona. This thing is very popular, very trendy, and a bit of a status symbol. But is it really all it's cracked up to be? And does it really simplify your life? Continue watching to find out. If you're new here, I'm Emily. I'm the stroller mom. I'm a mom of 3, and I provide honest reviews of strollers, car seats, and other baby gear that I use with my 3 kids to hopefully help you decide which one is best for you. If you haven't already, please be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss any of our other videos. I have a comparison coming soon of the Doona to the Evenflow, as well as an Evenflow video, so you're not gonna wanna miss those. And with that, let's jump in. So the Doona, like I said in the beginning of this video, is very well marketed. I feel like it's also very controversial. Like, depending on who you talk to, people either love the Doona or they have lots of opinions on the Doona. I also have tested a lot of strollers and car seats at this point, and I have never been stopped as much as I have when using the Doona. It is just so well marketed as being convenient and simplifying your life. After several months of using it with my baby, do I still feel that way? Well, we'll kind of talk about it, because this car seat is good for some families, but it's definitely not for everybody. So let's start with price. This thing retails at $550, which is pretty expensive for a car seat, but it's a stroller and a car seat, and I think that's how a lot of people justify it. However, this car seat is not gonna take you all the way through, like this car seat as a stroller is not going to take you through your stroller needs. So you will have to buy another stroller. And I think that is my biggest thing that I will say going into this is families need to know if you're getting the Doona, you should add another stroller to your registry because you're going to need one. I definitely have seen people who've gotten very dependent on the Doona and use it with their 2-year-old or more, and there's limits to this car seat. And I will say, I am not like a safety tech by any means when it comes to car seats, so be sure to check out Safe in the Seats review from a safety standpoint on the Doona. I'm going to be focusing more on like as a stroller and the convenience factor, because that's more my area of expertise. So for $550, you get the car seat with the infant inserts. You also get a base here, which is like weighs 10 pounds, and then this honestly very flimsy protector for your seat. I mean, it's nice that they include this, but it's kind of a joke, to be honest with you. Like, it tucks in, but it like moves and stuff. And I will also say, again, I'm not an expert, but like I have installed a lot of car seats, and I think I'm spoiled with like the click technology and Doona, because getting this thing to be like securely installed was a bit of a challenge. I will say, like, it's possible, it's past all the safety standards, but it's definitely not the easiest base in the world to install. The other thing I will say about the base is it is not necessarily like, because this thing's so heavy, which we'll get to in a minute, it's not the easiest to click into the base. So installing the base is a little tricky. Like, I felt like it was really hard to get a tight install. And then on top of that, getting it into the base easily, it was definitely not as smooth as some of the other car seats I have tested. So that's what you get for the $550. It does not include like any storage at all. So you have to purchase that, and to get the Doona storage, you have to pay anywhere from $40 to $60 depending on like the type of storage you want, and it does have to come off every single time you put it in the car. Every additional accessory on the Doona is very spendy, so something to definitely keep in mind. In regards to the handlebar, it's short. And like, if you read reviews or you even watch other videos, like, it is definitely not the tallest. For me at 5'5", it's fine, but anyone taller, like, it is definitely not the tallest handlebar, and it's not adjustable, right? You just have this, and then you have this setting. Now, the thing that's kind of cool about the handlebar is if you do it low, and you'll see this in some of my videos, my children can push it, and they loved that. Like, in fact, I think that's something about for moms who have multiple children, like, it's very cool for your child to be able, obviously you're there and like making sure they're safe, but it's really cool for them to be able to push the stroller. They love it. And it is just like a fun way for them. They just like talk to their sister, and I thought that was really, really cool. So that's one perk, but if you are a tall person, this is definitely probably not going to be the best option for you, just because there's no other extension to the handlebar. It also does not include any leatherette detailing on the 550 model. I think there's another one that you can get, like one of the higher end ones, but that's it. And so it's plastic, and a lot of people complain about that. The other thing I think from an aesthetic standpoint is I'm really surprised in the day of like beige, Doona has yellow like everywhere. And even in their like midnight model, you still have yellow everywhere. Moving on to the canopy is not enough coverage. Like, it folds back like this really easy. It's not too loud when it clicks, but it is not sufficient. I would say 85% of the time, I am needing more coverage from where the sun's at. Like, it's almost always in my baby's face. I never experienced that in my Doona, ever. And so, and most strollers, you don't experience that. I do know that Doona released a newer version in Europe. So if you're watching from Europe, they fixed the canopy, but in the States, like, this is still the only option we have. In regards to the seat, let's talk about who this is intended for. So this car seat stroller is safe to use as long as your child is not 32 inches tall, weighs 35 pounds, or his head is within an inch of the top of the car seat. That's something that people often forget, an inch, and that's probably the one that their kids outgrow first, is the inch from the top of the car seat. In regards to the weight, putting a 35-pound baby in this and lifting this thing would be near impossible. The infant inserts are super easy to clean. They don't move. Like, there's like Velcro or snaps that you can put in to keep the headrest there. So my baby actually is no longer using this infant insert, which you can remove when your baby is 11 pounds. Something else I will say is there are safety warnings all over this thing, like tips on how to use it. So making sure the bar is in this position when installed in the car, making sure your child's head isn't within an inch. Right here on the top of the insert, it tells you how big your baby should be when you remove it. And so lots of tips to try and set parents up for success when using this stroller car seat. And you can tell that Doona really does want people to like stay within the recommendations, obviously for the safety and liability of them. But I think it's also really helpful as a sleep deprived parent who there's so much that you're learning to just have those tips right there. It also has these snap covers here, which are super easy. And I will make a car seat cleaning, so be sure to subscribe to the channel if you're not already, because I will have that if you do end up purchasing the Doona. And then the buckles are really easy. My biggest complaint, I mean, they're car seat buckles, right? But they're not loose enough to where a child's gonna undo them. But my biggest complaint next to the canopy as like a car seat user is there's no way to hold the buckles open. And I've had so many moms I talk to who love the Doona, but they all say that that is their biggest downside. Like, what they'll do is they'll loosen them a ton and then like hook them here on like where the seatbelt path's supposed to be so they can put their baby in. So that's a workaround, but for $550, I really think it should have buckle holders and an extendable canopy. The other thing is it's not no rethread, which a lot of car seats are not. These days, it's becoming more popular. I think I would bet the next version of the Doona will have that. And so you do have to manually rethread them, but it's not that hard. Finally, in regard to the seat materials, all car seats are required to have some either natural or not natural flame retardants, right, in a car. So you don't find this as much in strollers, but you definitely find it in car seats. Doona does meet all the European and American standards, but they're not Green Guard certified, which is like one of the highest ratings you can get. So that may be an important factor for you. It also might not be, but that's something that I do want to point out on this car seat. Okay, so jumping now into push. The push on the Doona is actually really nice. I mean, there are only one other competitor to the Doona, and the Doona definitely has the best push. Is it as good as a stroller? No. But it's pretty nice. The other thing I will say is, while the handlebar is low, the seat is also low, which is super nice for restaurants. I love taking this into restaurants because I can like push my baby right next to me. But in regards to like getting your baby in and out, I find that the lowness of this is a little bit more difficult than a lot of the traditional strollers or car seat, even travel systems. And then the brake is so easy to use. I love that they have this like toggle brake here that you can easily use between, like, one side's the brake and one side's the go, and I think that's so easy and convenient. Okay, so let me show you how to fold this thing. This thing, on top of being 16 pounds, you then have your baby that you're putting in it and you're having to like lift into a car. If you have a large vehicle, like a Tahoe, like an Expedition, an Escalade, a Navigator, any of these big vehicles they have to like lift up into, it's a beast. It's a beast, especially if you're the mom and having to do this. Like, I think it's bad enough for the dad, but then as a mom as well, I just find that that is something that's really hard and a pretty big con. The thing is if you have a stroller in a car seat, you're not ever lifting the stroller with your child in it like you are in this situation. So to put it in your car, you have to put the brake on. You then have to move the seat up, which I'm gonna actually show this because it's kind of annoying. So when you put the handlebar in this position, if you want to move the canopy, look, it hits the handlebars. Like, you have to just push it down. But I think that's such, like, why could it not have been a little lower and not hit the handlebar? So once you get it in this position, you're then going to take this button in the back and you're going to pop it down. And you're going to push it towards the rear wheels or the bottom. And then you have it. I mean, this thing is so heavy, even without a kid in it. And I tested this with a 2-month-old, and she was in the 13th percentile for weight. So she is tiny. If you have a huge baby, that's a lot. So then once you put it in the car, so here's my base. I have my baby. I put it in. Okay, that popped in pretty nice. It really depends. Like the bigger your car is, the harder it's gonna be. To get your baby out of it, you have to push down a button back here, push it in, and then lift it out. And if your baby is sleeping, watch, popping down the wheels, it's aggressive. So I did kind of figure out how to do it where your baby's sleeping. So if your baby's sleeping, you can go like really carefully. And then if you say you're getting it out of your car, you can put it down here. And then very carefully open it. So the thing that I should have mentioned a minute ago is you then, after you put the car seat in, you have to put the handlebar back like this so that it's an anti-rebound bar, and then lifting it into the car this way. But again, you're carrying a 16-pound car seat plus a 12, 13, or 20, or 35-pound baby, and you're having to lift them into the car. And then if there's someone parked really close to you, you're having to like squeeze in next to a car. And in fact, there were many times where my husband had to back out of the vehicle so we could fit the baby car seat in. And then the last thing I will say is this stroller is not sold in Canada or Australia, which is super interesting. And it's hard, honestly, to find out why. It seems like people link to safety standards, but then if you go on the Doona website, they say they meet all the safety standards. They do sell in Europe, and Europe actually has like a cool version that like kind of reclines. That's really nice. You Europeans always get like the cutting edge. Okay, so who's the stroller best for? This stroller is best for families who either travel a lot, right? This is airline certified. It's so nice to not have to deal with a car seat and a stroller when when going through the airplane security and all of that. I talked to a mom who went and saw her stepdaughter every 2 weeks in Florida. This was a great option for her. And then when her baby was 7 months old, she and I were talking about what stroller she could upgrade to. And let me tell you, if you go with the Doona, I would love to help you find the next stroller once your baby outgrows it. The other situation that I've talked to several moms on is like not a lot of trunk space. Like they really like this because it's kind of a one unit. Now, and then they'll move to it's one unit and then they'll move to an umbrella stroller. There are so many lightweight compact strollers today. I mean, from the Jewels will totally fit behind your baby's infant car seat in your car. So just because of that feature, the Doona, you may still want to go with the Doona, but I will say there's a lot of other options out there that can still meet that. Who is this not best for? The thing is with the Doona that I will say, I found myself with 3 children. I loved that my children could push it, but there were also times where I really needed to use a stroller. And the thing is this does a double stroller. This does not clip into a double stroller. I hope this was helpful in deciding if the Doona is right for your family. I will also be doing a comparison of the Doona to the Evenflo and a full review of the Evenflo. So be sure to subscribe if you're not. And if the Doona is not right for you after watching this video, be sure to check out some of my other lightweight stroller reviews because there are so many great options that are just as convenient that might be right for your family. Thanks for watching.